What's good, everyone, and welcome back to the Water Boys channel. As if you guys haven't seen already yet today, earlier in the morning, Sean Payton announced not a retirement, but kind of a step back getaway, and we're going to dive fully in depth with it. But before we dive into any of that, you guys already know what to do. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, because during the whole off season, I'm going to go through free agent predictions, go through coaching predictions as well. This will be my first one I'm going to dive into. And of course, it's still playoff time. We got two big AFC Championship, NFC Championship game, the Super Bowl as well to take a real good look at. And you guys just stay tuned to this, because I'm going to keep releasing daily videos to keep you up to date on everything you need to know that is NFL related. As I did mention, and as what a lot of people expected and saw, there was speculation earlier in the week, as the end of last week as well, about Sean Payton's future with the Saints or in the NFL in general. And today it was announced that he is stepping away from the game for a little while. Now, what does that mean for him and for the Saints? Well, let's dive into him as well. Let's see how we got here. And I think this year probably played the biggest factor of all, just because it's a whole new team you had to deal with. No Drew Brees. Of course, his offensive weapons were either banged up or not there, like Michael Thomas. And Michael Thomas, I think, could be a big factor in all this as well, because as the older Sean Payton gets, and even with coaches as well, too, it's like you could tell, I guess, the disturbance. We heard the offseason about how both of them were clashing head to head, and you could see the uncertainty and uncomfortability in that position with him as well. And that might have had a factor to do with it. And who knows if Mike Thomas is going to be there next year as well, because in my eyes, which I'll dive into well, I think the Saints are about to have a whole different remodel and new team that we're not used to seeing. And we've seen it without Drew Brees this year, but I think it's going to be completely different. And I'll dive into that later on as well. But as for Sean Payton, do I believe this is the permanent end? He's retired for good? Of course, we don't know, and never say never as well. And he also left that out there as well. But I think he'll definitely take the year off. That's a for sure. And I mean, that's going to make a lot of things interesting. It really will. Definitely there's now 9 head coaching positions open. So, for example, these teams, do they go in for the filler coach, kind of like what the Texans did with David Culley? And, hey, 1 year, and then we're going to jump back into the Sean Payton sweepstakes and try to take a chance. We'll have to see how that plays out. But I do believe he will be back. He's still, he's not young, but he's still a great offensive-minded coach who has plenty of time left in this game. And the game is not ready to say bye to him as well either. And it's going to be interesting to see. And I just think he's going to go to a place either where next year where they're going to have good draft capital, good cap space, maybe even a quarterback in place, or a quarterback he knows he can bring in to succeed as well. This year was none of that whatsoever, and I think that was a big deciding factor as well. And then diving into what New Orleans is going to deal with this offseason as well is going to be crazy, and I feel for the next coach that's going to take over. Now, let's speak about that next coach that's going to take over. And I got a couple options, and 2 offensive-minded, and then, of course, I think the one that's going to get it, and I think we're all going to be on the same page here, is the defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen. And I don't know how that'll pan out, honestly. He was a mediocre coach with the Chargers. Tim will tell you best. But, again, he had all the firepower, and then they didn't succeed. Now, this will be his time to shine if he does get the job and see what he can do best with it. And then the other 2, I like this fit for Eric Bieniemy, but then again, I don't. But it's a huge head coaching opportunity, and of course, I'm going to mention my guy, and I think he deserves one. And if it's one, you would take that. And I would go for Brian Daboll. Make a shot, see what it is. He has a lot of offers out there. Of course, the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator, and it's going to be interesting. I think he'll choose a different position than that, just for the factor that I'm going to dive into now, where I think this could be probably the worst head coaching job available, which a lot of people would be surprised to hear. And it's, man, the talent is lackluster on the offensive side of the ball. Definitely, of course, you got Alvin Kamara, but I don't think Mike Thomas is going to be there next year. And the quarterback situation, who knows what that's going to be? Is it Jameis? Do they run with Taysom Hill? I think both those aren't the answer long term. So I think the next head coach is going to want to bring their guy in. Defensive side of the ball, that's where they excel. That's where they made their playoff push. and that's what the team they're going to be. And I think that's why Dennis Allen will take over, because that's his group of guys, and somehow, someway, he's got to bring in an offensive coordinator or trust the guy he has already, which I don't know. Sorry for that lack of information. But they need to find pieces. But here's where they're not going to find pieces is they are $72 million over the cap. Like, that's absurd. That's crazy. And I think that was another big reason Sean Payton didn't want to be there. I'm not saying he was like, oh man, screw this. Like, that's crazy. But it's also too, you got to think that's a lot of stress for a coach and a GM. I know the GM mostly handles that as well. But then to manage players, to know you're going to have a whole new remodeled team just based off of that, because a lot of players are going to have to restructure contracts or get cut, and that's why I put Mike Thomas in there, and I see him playing somewhere else. Because the last 2 years, he wasn't on the field, and he was eating up a big portion of that money as well. And this team's going to be completely different. I think, of course, they keep Kamara, because that's a go-to. You need to solidify your offense around one piece, and you got the all-star as well. It's just that defense side of the ball is going to start taking hits now. With restructuring contracts, are you going to have to let guys go that are pivotal pieces for that defense, which almost got you to be a playoff team? We'll just have to wait and see for that as well. It's going to be interesting to see what the Saints do. And diving back into Sean Payton, everyone making the pick like, oh, this is Jerry Jones is loving this. He's like, I'm going to roll Mike McCarthy 1 year and then get Sean Payton next year, which is going to be interesting. I don't see Mike McCarthy that long, and that would be an interesting fit. It'd be an amazing fit, honestly, if the Cowboys can somehow keep all their weapons for another year, see how that goes. But it's going to be interesting. The Saints got a lot of big decisions to make, and they're going to have an interesting offseason. I know this won't be my last video on them because they're in an interesting predicament. Definitely not on the side of the ball you want it to be in the cap space-wise. I don't even think their draft capital is even that great either. And you're going to have a young coach coming in, hopefully trying to rebuild and remold this whole team together. It's going to be interesting. But if that defense can stay apart and they can get a little bit of offensive power, this could be a good team. My money is Dennis Allen is going to be the coach. He actually had an interview with Chicago today, and that was canceled because he stayed in New Orleans, just, farewell, goodbye, and all that. But I also think that was the Saints knowing what they were doing there and being like, hey, you're not going anywhere just yet as well. We need to have a discussion. We'll be the first ones to get you in. I think he's going to lock down that position. But again, I don't know if that's the number one move. We'll just have to see moving forward. But let me know down in the comments below how the Saints are going to be next year. Is this like the Saints of old? And when I mean Saints of old, I mean like early 2000, before Payton came, before Drew Brees came. I'm talking those Aaron Brooks days. It's going to be interesting to see. Like, they struggled for a while before Drew Brees and Sean Payton came in. Are they going to go back to that? Or can they find a coach to re-solidify and get them back to a playoff run? Or if it's just going to be a struggle. You guys let me know down below. And who's going to be their next head coach. This is going to be an interesting time to see. This offseason is going to be fun, you guys. So please do stay tuned to the channel. You know what it is. It's the Water Boys. So do subscribe. Do like this video. And I will check back in with you guys tomorrow on another topic.